Welcome. Good morning, everyone. My name is Darlene Declan. I am serving as the MC for the Teaching, Learning, and Transforming the Student Experience track. We are glad to have you here for our next presentation of the conference to start off the day. Joining me is my partner, Stacy Garcia. She will be monitoring the room to ensure that the Zoom things work out okay. So that's why I asked her if everything was working okay. To help her out, please remember to mute your microphone to keep and eliminate background noise for our presenters. And if you have any questions for our presenters, please use the raise hand icon or use the chat. We will be monitoring both of those features. To keep us on time, now that we're a minute behind, we'll be chiming in at about the 10-minute left mark. So that's at 10:30 because the session ends at 10:40. So with that, let's get to the session. CSUF Faculty Student Success Dashboard Expansion at Monterey Bay and Dominguez Hills. This session will be presented by our colleagues from Fullerton, Dominguez Hills, and Monterey Bay. Afsana Hamadani, Director of Information Technology at CSU Fullerton. Joe Lutzi, Assistant Vice President of IT Enterprise Applications, also at our CSU Fullerton campus. Alana Olschwang, Associate Vice President for University Effectiveness, Planning, and Analytics from our CSU Dominguez Hills campus. Ryan Weitzman, Director of University Effectiveness, Planning, and Analytics from Dominguez Hills as well. Mary Morrow, Senior Director of Enterprise Data Management and Information Security Officer at CSU Monterey Bay. And Jeff McCall, Associate Director of the Center for Academic Technologies, also from our Monterey Bay campus. So it is my pleasure to turn the virtual floor over to our presenters.
Thank you so much, Darlene and Stacy. Appreciate you. Hello, everyone, and welcome. Thank you for committing yourself to this session. Your time and your interest is very much appreciated. My name is Afsana Hamadani. I am the project manager for the Faculty Student Success Dashboard, FSSD from Cal State Fullerton. It is especially auspicious to present the FSSD today at the Caltech Connect conference because we launched the FSSD exactly 2 years ago today. And this was in partnership with Thought Focus and College Futures Foundation. I'm also pleased to announce that we are in the final processes to launch the FSSD at the CSU Monterey Bay and CSU Dominguez Hills. In this presentation, we will introduce how this project came to fruition and why. We will also share with you the infrastructure that this dashboard is built upon. The CSU Monterey Bay then will share their approach focusing on GI 2025 for their launch. And after that, we will hear from CSU Dominguez Hills and their unique approach through identifying equity gaps. At the end, we will have about 10 minutes for your questions and comments. Now I will turn it to Joe Lutzi and we'll share the presentation. Can you see this okay?
Yes.
Wonderful.
Well, I can. Thank you, Afsana. Welcome, everyone. Really excited to be here today to talk to you about the Student Success Dashboard, specifically how it's being expanded to our sister CSUs at Monterey Bay and Dominguez Hills. Next slide, please. So let me just give you a little bit of background before we get to the two campuses. So what is the FSSD? What is the Faculty Student Success Dashboard? So at Fullerton, we set out to build a dashboard specifically for faculty. We had already developed a dashboard called our Student Success Dashboard, which was to allow the campus to track our graduation rates. And it was for the leadership, the departments, the colleges, and for our advising teams to be able to get insight into those graduation rates and to be able to drill into the data and help us close the graduation rates, achievement gaps, and things like that we are trying to achieve for GI 2025 and other initiatives on our campus. But we realized too that faculty have a great role in our student success as well. So we wanted to provide them with a dashboard specifically tailored to their needs. So we built the faculty student success dashboard, patterned off after our student success dashboard, where the faculty can see the grad rates of their students. So we're showing only data that is students that the faculty have taught in their classes in the faculty dashboard. So they get information about their students, as well as information for their RTP process. So we built this innovative one-stop kind of tool set for the faculty. So not only do they have information about their students, but they have the data they need for their RTP, their student opinion questionnaires, their graded class list. So that's what we set out to build. And this whole tool set that we put together is the first of its kind in the CSU. When we came up with the idea for this faculty dashboard, we put together a grant initiative for achieving some funding, because we needed a little bit of help with building this out. We needed some consulting help. And so we engaged with College Futures Foundation, and they were very interested in building out a dashboard specifically to faculty. They were specifically excited about that process. So they actually provided us with funding for phase 1 and phase 2 of our project with the FSSD. So again, why FSSD? Well, as I stated, we knew that faculty played a great role in the success of our students, but they didn't have access, at least easy access, to data about their students. And so we wanted to make sure that we provided them with a tool set that provided them with information about their students, demographic information, graduation rates, so that they can see their contribution to student success, but also provide them with specific indicators about their students, their academic, current academic standing, their ethnicity, parent education level, a lot of information about their students, including the current term and the future term. So we have different tabs on our dashboard that show the faculty information coming from our LMS. We have integration with our EAB platform, so they can link out to EAB and get additional information about their students. So this dashboard provides them with so much information, a wealth of information that hopefully helps them in identifying gaps and helping to further make our students successful here on campus. So how does it help faculty? Well, by providing faculty with the data about their students, we're hoping that especially some of the dashboards we provide are, summary data or historical data about their students, but also they have the current data about their students. So not only can they help the current students in their classes by knowing these demographic components, how well they're doing in the class. We have visualizations for their interaction in the LMS, so they know how active they are in the classroom, in the LMS, in achieving their assignments. We have missing assignments. We show the current grades. So they have a lot of information to be able to help with the students. We're hoping that this will actually entice them to actually reach out to students. So one of the dashboards shows their graduation rates of their students. So they can see if the students have graduated, whether they're continuing to work toward graduating and meeting their goal of achieving their degree, or maybe the students have stopped out. So they can see that, and we know faculty, have a relationship with their students, their mentors. And we're hoping that they may identify some of these students that maybe stopped out. Maybe they can reach out to them and get them back on track and help us achieve the graduation rates that we're looking to achieve and eliminate the gaps that we're trying to close. So there's 9 tabs that we developed for the dashboard. And I'm not going to go into all of the tabs, but the My Current Students tab is the one where they get information about the students currently enrolled in their classes and the students that are enrolled in an upcoming term. So say fall 2022, they'll be able to see those students that are enrolled. They'll be able to see all that demographic information, and maybe they see some information that leads them to want to make some pedagogical changes in the course that's upcoming. The My Current Students is the one that would show the graduation rates of their students and other details about their current academic standing. So if you want further information about these tabs, I recommend you go to our website, fullerton.edu/FSSD, and we have video guides that go through each of the tabs and describe what types of information are available to the faculty. So one of the things that College Futures Foundation really wanted us to move forward on was expansion of the dashboard to other institutions. They were really happy with what we had built, and they wanted to see the success of the faculty dashboard implemented at other institutions. And so we set out with some of the CSU campuses that we've already had close relationships with, namely Monterey Bay and Dominguez Hills. And we wanted to be able to push that to their campuses and help them implement it. So one of the things that allowed us to do that was the architecture. So all three campuses, we used the same Oracle architecture. And so that made implementing the dashboard much easier at those campuses. So in a minute, you're going to hear about the functional challenges and technical challenges that they went through in their implementation of the FSSD. So I mentioned the architecture, and this is because when we were looking to implement this at other schools, we even talked to some community colleges. Some of them didn't even have a data warehouse infrastructure. So in the case of Monterey Bay and Dominguez Hills, we're all using the Oracle products, the Oracle Business Intelligence Enterprise Edition, their Student Information Analytics, and their ODI tool for the ETL. So we have this data model that we inherited from this vendor product from Oracle, and we've extended as well. But since we're all aligned on the same platform, it's much easier to implement this at the other institutions at Monterey Bay and Dominguez Hills. They're also using Canvas, and so we had already built out an infrastructure in AWS to pull that data and to transform it and load it into the Oracle data warehouse. What we're trying to do going forward is develop an architecture that's more easily adaptable to other schools. So right now we're locked in with Oracle's tool sets. It's expensive. So we're trying to alleviate some of the costs with procuring a vendor product as well as infrastructure costs by leveraging the cloud, so like AWS. So what we're looking to do is, we know the Chancellor's Office has already built out some data warehouse infrastructure. Can you go back to the, yeah. We know that the CSU has already built out this data lake in AWS. And so we'd like to leverage that nightly dump of our data into the data lake and pull that data and use some of the tools in AWS. We want to use some open source tools like PySpark to be able to load, transform the data into a data warehouse. It could be Redshift. And hopefully this infrastructure is much easier for other schools to adopt. And then that will help us in expanding the FSSD and other dashboards that we've developed to the other schools, especially in the CSU system. So that's all I have. I'd like to turn it over to Monterey Bay for their FSSD implementation information. Thank you.
Thank you, Joe. Next slide, please. Okay, so I'm going to walk through the implementation at Monterey Bay, Mary and I, and wanted to kind of just go through the steps. Prior to January 2022, we had the presentation to our provost, the CIO presented to our provost, and her background and in relationship with Fullerton kind of lent a good fit. And so she was definitely on board. So we went through the official project kickoff in January, and you can see the steps here that we've taken, and we're looking to roll this out officially in the fall of 22, this coming fall. Next slide.
So the project management was handled by Fullerton, and they were well prepared. Sana kept us on track with weekly technical meetings. These were 30 minutes. We worked through our issues, identified anything that needed to be handled on the campus side. And other than that, we had monthly meetings that she updated our management with the progress of the project. Like Fullerton said, they have lots of experience collaborating, and we have lots of experience collaborating with them. And so this was another good collaboration that we were able to take advantage of for Monterey Bay. And also our collaboration with Dominguez Hills really opened up some of the insights that Dominguez Hills had with regard to faculty collaboration.
Thanks, Mary. So the process, of course, getting the stakeholders on board and getting engagement from upper management and senior leadership really was important. Obviously, the provost was on board, but we really wanted to make sure that everyone was well informed. Most recently, we did a extended cabinet presentation just last week of kind of as we approach kind of final products. Beyond that, we really wanted to engage, our other folks that were involved in DEI and gap, kind of closing that gap. Of course, that's GI 2025 on this campus. It's called Otter Promise. The Academic Assessment Committee was another key group. And then we have just had the good fortune of a culturally responsive teaching grant in our first year seminar college that really synced very well. They actually had come to the research group, our IAR group, and asked for a dashboard similar to this to look at gaps. And so we thought it was a great fit. Again, we'll talk a little bit more about this later, but it was a very fortunate coincidence.
So our collaboration experience from the campus side included many and varied groups that participated in this project. Jeff's already mentioned some of those. Some were advisory, and others actually had active roles in the implementation. At CSUMB, our data warehouse and our IAR staff are both part of the data warehouse team, along with our DBA, our database administrator, and CAT and communication on our side also joined with us and participated to prepare the way for our faculty. So we had our technical side actually having active roles, and we had our communications and our faculty integration people working to make this project successful. So some of the advantages that we had was we already had a mature data warehouse, and we have a lot of user experience with our dashboards. We have our data custodians involved heavily with our dashboard development on the campus. So they were used to being asked to advise on new projects. We already are a Canvas campus, and we're planning to integrate the Canvas data into the warehouse. However, we were not able to do that yet until this project came along. And so, like Jeff's mentioned, this was very opportune for us to take advantage of this implementation. So the campus was ready to adopt a project like this, and we were happy to do it. So our benefits were that we leveraged the Fullerton integration models for Canvas, and we now have Canvas data in the warehouse. So what is the advantage of having that? Well, prior to that, in the data warehouse, we had some of these data available, but they were pretty much from PeopleSoft, which means end of term grades and things that really didn't provide insight into what was going on during the experience. And so what we achieved by getting the Canvas data integrated was enabling some of these insights and comparative evaluations from the faculty. For example, now the faculty can see engagement the day after, or grades the day after they've been entered into Canvas. They can do comparisons within a course. They can even do comparisons across courses that have been taught from one term to another. And so that's a real advantage and a real benefit. And it also strengthened our cloud, AWS cloud experience. We had very little cloud experience prior to this FSSD implementation. And not only were we able to experience in the cloud, but this is our first experience actually doing any kind of data extraction from the data lake.
Then on the academic technology side, we really had been looking for an early intervention tool for quite a while. Related to the learning management system. So this was a great opportunity for us. Then of course, the long-term kind of longitudinal data that faculty can go and see their improvement over time as they make changes to a course. And then of course, I think Fullerton is already using student evaluation data. We have yet to do that, but we plan to do that in the future. And then just relationship building on campus. There were great benefits there across the silos within IT and institutional assessment and research, faculty working in DEI, and then some of the assessment committees. So it was really a great opportunity for us to work together kind of across the campus silos.
So with regard to the technical side, there was some getting prepared that needed to be done on the campus, and that was access and connectivity for the Fullerton team. We had some firewalls that needed to be punched through. We had some VPN tunnels that needed to be created, and training needed to be provided to do that. And we also needed to set up our security initialization blocks for access. We did dedicate one data warehouse environment of the 4 that we currently have to the FSSD development. We gave them our pre-prod environment, which had a little bit of implication to the campus because we were demoing in dev, and that was a little bit slow. And we also needed to freeze our RPD development during the merge process right before the go live. And we just needed to make sure that we planned for that with our other development projects happening at the time. We also, once we have Canvas now as a data source, we had to really review our naming conventions and match those with the existing data warehouse. And we needed to define our transformations for the campus glossary. Testing and validation was done by the data warehouse. And since the actual full product rollout to us in May, we have been doing some minor tweaks and addressing minor customizations that needed to be done for Monterey Bay.
And then issues for the stakeholders, you know, because this can be a sensitive subject, gap analysis or equity gaps, we really wanted to get in front of that a little bit. And so again, a lot of outreach there early on. Of course, we've got to couple that with training. We're looking at building, just as Fullerton has done, we're looking at building tools around or training around perceptive bias and unconscious bias, and then also outcomes based related to the grant that I mentioned earlier. So we really wanted to be very, very aware and very purposeful about how we rolled this out and make sure that the tool is used correctly. We had a beta group. The beta group was the last couple of weeks of the term, last few weeks of the term. So it's very tough to get in front of faculty during that time. What we ended up doing was we ran a focus group. The focus group lasted about an hour and a half, and it was really successful. We had very, very good notes on that. And I think, as I've said before, it's really, I think, the way to run a beta or a pilot program is just to get people in the room initially and then repeatedly get them in the room together, kind of not giving them the option to explore on their own at the beginning, but in between those kind of guided focus groups. Of course, we have yet to roll this out. We're going to roll it out in the fall, so adoption will be an issue. And again, getting in front of faculty and getting this out there is another big challenge. There'll be a marketing campaign, and us probably speaking in front of department and college meetings will be helpful. And then support is also, you know, it's interesting. There's the functional use of the tool and the teaching perspective of the tool, which my crew will probably handle in CAT. And then we'll have technical issues and support issues on that side and maintenance roles. And that'll be both the data warehouse and IAR.
So our overall experience was great. The infrastructure team on the campus had actual roles that they needed to perform, but the development teams for the warehouse, their involvement was minimal. It was pretty much watching what was going on, making sure it was doing it right, it met our campus business requirements, and validating that everything went well. So it was a great experience from our side on the technical.
And then in the results, of course, we'll create a course, or we are creating a course, and I've dedicated one of my instructional designers to work with a culturally responsive teaching course. That'll be integrated in. There'll be other training materials that we'll be building, and some of it will live in Canvas, some of it will live on the resources page on the dashboard. And then here's our campus website. So hand it off to Dominguez Hills. Thank you.
Thank you, Jeff, and thank you, Mary. I appreciate it. So my name is Ryan Weitzman, along with Dr. Alana Alschming. We were the lead here at Dominguez Hills. And I got to tell you, you can go into the next slide, Osana. Thank you. When Joe and Osana approached Lana and I, we were like, can we actually do this? Is this even possible with everything that we have going on right now? But the reality was, you know, here at Dominguez Hills, especially being within institutional effectiveness, We already had projects already going on. And we saw this as a direct application as well as a continuing effort for things that we were doing as far as equity-based teaching and, strengthening our communities of practice and building in that discussion throughout, for faculty. We were really trying to build into a companion piece. I'm sorry, go back one, for FTC, faculty training, and then as well as making sure that we engage faculty in different ways. I'm sorry, if not, go to the next one then. So this is kind of a typical dashboard you would see, whether it's through institutional effectiveness or through the work at student success at Chancellor's office, or through analytical studies. A lot of our faculty already have the basic understanding and they understand about GPA, but what we were trying to go through for and build through a community of practice is really expanding on that understanding of what a GPA means, what it means to different ethnicities, what it means to really build the diversity and equity into the assessment of the courses, right? So by building that data literacy, they're able to really start to understand what the data says and really start to make meaning of it and how it can be applicable to them. So, we were really trying to focus in on the systematic inequalities of, our institutions and how we can start to break that down and provide opportunities for our students. So next slide, Asana, please. So I got to tell you, just working with our colleagues over at Fullerton as well as Thought Focus really made my job easy. I was more the technical side of it, and as Alana will share, she's more she approached the faculty, she approached the provost, and she's, in my opinion, had a more harder time at it than I. However, for us, working with Thought Focus, Fullerton, as well as our colleagues at Monterey Bay, it's really been an interesting experience for us because we really brought 3 different lenses to this project. And I think we definitely learned from each other in this experience. And I'm definitely really excited to bring this to Dominguez Hills. And then, the only other thing I'd say is, like I said, it just was really easy and Fullerton really laid down the groundwork so that we can roll into it. I guess the only challenge we have is we had Blackboard as our LMS system, and unfortunately we weren't having opportunity. It just wasn't working for us, so we cut that and chose to go over to Canvas, which we already had planned to do that anyway. And once we decided to do that, then it was really smooth sailing at that point as far as the technical side here at Dominguez Hills. So I'm going to turn it over to Alana and she'll finish this off.
Good afternoon. So as was mentioned, by Jeff, the faculty engagement was really important. So we are actually in the middle of our beta test, and what we chose to do is to create a faculty community of practice in the summer and to give them a stipend and to bring in a couple of guest speakers and really have it be a space where, like Jeff mentioned, that we could go through and look at the information together. But given the sensitive nature, all of the faculty had to have completed a 2-series workshop that was developed by our Faculty Development Center through funding that we got from the CARES Act. So this was called Practicing Equitable Pedagogy. So they come in with having this knowledge, they come in with having already worked on a project. So they understood the requirement was not just that they were going to be looking at the dashboards and giving us feedback, but really extending their own research and thinking about from a line of inquiry of questions that were important and meaningful to them, giving them a different lens on the data, because now it's serving them, it's not just doing us a favor to kind of improve the dashboards. So what this brought in with it was, these are a couple of quotes that folks had commented were impactful for them. And so these 2 quotes just kind of reflect how looking at GPA and thinking about student progress and thinking about changes they've made in the classes and whether or not the equity gaps showed that the changes had happened really got them questioning assessment and thinking about assessment structures and how they were getting in their own way, and they were assuming certain things had to be so, but going back to what they learned in the Faculty Development Center, they could unpack that and really think through things in a new and a different way. Next slide. So it just so happened that all of the participants are female. They are from 3 different colleges, and they are taking a data literacy approach to this process. So in the very first session, we only talked about and unpacked what the data were. We didn't talk about anything else, just in understanding what it's showing us. Then we talked about how to make meaning out of that. What else can we link it to? What other data might we want to bring in to help understand what's going on or what's happening? Who else do we need to talk to make sense of this? And then in the third session, we talk about data storytelling. So how do we weave together the information we have to go from information to insight and impact? And in the fourth session, the topic is use. So what are the next steps? How will they be using this? What's a plan of action? And for many of them, it's additional changes in their course, and then potentially, presenting or writing about that. They are required to do some readings. They did comment that the readings really help them see the data in a different way, looking at mostly quant crit literature, and then a couple of other pieces. We decided to focus on one area that's been a topic nationally. We had, just had the Juneteenth event. So we are focusing on Black women and success of Black women. And then we have 2 different speakers who studied this from 2 different angles. They're going to come help the faculty unpack, with that one example that they can then apply to other subgroups that they're interested in looking at. And then we don't have a website yet. That's, they'll help us develop assets after the fact. We will develop. Hopefully this image on the left looks very familiar to most of you. This is out of the Chancellor's Office dashboard for student success. And this is our faculty's favorite dashboard in the analytics program, where they can see at a snapshot inside of one class, do they have equity gaps across 4 major categories that we usually look at by racialized ethnic groups, sex, Pell eligibility, or generational status. And so the faculty, like Jeff had mentioned, they're doing research and they're coming to us already saying, what else can I know about this? This is a snapshot. I need more information. So these dashboards, the faculty were just so thrilled to be able to see so much in one place and look at, they especially love the benchmarking because they can compare to their own department, they can compare to 2 years prior, they can compare to the university, and then leveraging this other chancellor's office, they can then compare to whatever other classes they want and even other campuses. So this really is so powerful for them to, put their information in context. And then finally, just to give a flavor, the faculty are really looking at a lot of different topics. So they filled out a pre-survey, they committed to a specific theme that they would be focusing on. And then they really are asking each other questions and kind of unpacking and digesting the information together in this community. Each session is 2 hours and we have 6 of them. We do have, office hours to kind of unpack additional independent things. So the faculty were talking about, what is it about their syllabus? Can they do, decolonize or their syllabus or do an audit, look at first gen experiences, look at how the assignments are received by the students and where they're, once they see that there is a GPA difference, then they want to understand why and how. So they're going inside the class and looking, a couple of them looking assignment by assignment to see if there's differences there, and then they can kind of see what kind of change they can impact. They're also examining ways to extend deadlines and change the way that they do grading and give multiple chances, and talk about this in the context of, really when you just look at GPA, it's such a global measure, and it you really have to look at what's going on inside it that makes it up. A couple of comments about the dashboards that the faculty have given is that, from a methodology perspective, they also share with us for these subgroup evaluations, how big is the group and the GPA. And so that's so important when we're looking at what are the different experiences for subgroups where some, the groups might be different sizes. So it's just really good practice and helpful for them. And then like I said, we're not finished. Would love to hear others who are doing a similar kind of community of practice and how you extend that through time. And I think from an IR perspective, the great thing is that we've been able to link them with other assets and resources that we have. All of a sudden they're really excited about the data dictionary and what does it really mean. So I just, want to thank the Fullerton team and Thought Focus and Monterey Bay. I think this has really been a great experience for our campus. So I'll conclude there.